It's the 3 on PLAX TV.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy PLAX, and I am back with another episode of the 3 on PLAX TV. And in this episode, I'm mad at y'all. Specifically, you young whippersnappers that don't know nothing. I'm only 26. Damn, which is still old to some of y'all. But I've been seeing a lot. This was mostly last month, but this has been an ongoing thing. I am sick and tired of y'all disrespecting Wilt Chamberlain. Now, is he a bad teammate a lot of times? Yes. Is he not the greatest human being? Or was he not the greatest human being? No, he was pretty shitty to people. But what we're not going to do is take away his accolades. Okay? And I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about based on the title of the video. We can't even get 12 people to agree on something as simple as pizza toppings. Like try finding 12 random people to agree on pizza toppings. It's going to be damn near impossible. And that's something regular. We can't even get a group of people to agree on like politics, like important shit, like global warming. A proper president. We're dealing with that right now. Like, we can't even get people to agree on little shit like that. There were 2,000 people at that game in 1962. Wilt's 100-point game. You mean to tell me that they somehow got 2,000 people to agree to a lie about a motherfucker scoring 100 points in a game? When we can't even get 5 people to agree on like gay rights or racism. Like, we can't even, or not being real. Like, we can't even get 5 people to agree on something like that in our society. So you expect me to believe that in 1962, they got 2,000 people to all agree to the same lie that somebody scored 100 points in a game. On top of that, I'm assuming most of that crowd was white people. We got 2,000. You mean to tell me the NBA, Wilt Chamberlain, whatever, got 2,000 white people, let's say 1,500. 1,500 white people to agree that some nigga scored 100 points in a basketball game, something that had never been seen up until that point and hasn't been seen since, besides like in college and high school levels. But as far as the NBA, we haven't seen that. The closest we've seen to that is Kobe's 81-point game against the Raptors. And again, like we say all the time, it's not impossible because he was playing against janitors. We say this all the time. I don't necessarily like that statement because a lot of guys were good players and some of those guys could play. You know, some guys could play now, like Bill. The best guys could adjust and play now, I feel like. But we always say, you know, they played against janitors and shit like that. And that's true because a lot of those guys had day jobs because the NBA wasn't popular and it didn't pay much. So you had to have a second job. So, yeah, some of those guys were teachers and janitors that Wilt and Bill Russell were playing against. So it makes it, imagine you just worked an 8-hour shift and now you got to check Wilt Chamberlain for 48 minutes. He's probably going to drop 100 on your dome top. And he has scored 70 in previous games, multiple different games. So in that game, he just happened to be making his free throws, and that's how he got to 100 points. He was a shitty free throw shooter. He was like Shaq. But that day, he made his free throws, and that was the difference. He scored like 28 points on free throws alone. So imagine he was going to get 70 that night. He makes 28 free throws, 30 free throws. That's your 100 points right there, brother. And that's one of the biggest things for me. It's like the white people. You're not going to get a bunch of white people in 1962 to agree that a black man is that great, that amazing. The only way you're going to get that is if it actually happened. And I see a lot of people like Agent 00 and other basketball creators or guys that talk about basketball at least. Because Agent got real passionate about it. He was like, if somebody scored 100 points, shouldn't there be video of it? Like if it was legit? Let me put it like this. It was 1962. The NBA was not popular. Like I just said, there were guys that were teachers and literal janitors. They had day jobs because the NBA wasn't popular. It wasn't paying shit. It was nowhere near what it is today. Also, again, it was 1962. TV was a very new thing. So I doubt they had cameras at every single game. Some games, yes. Big games, yeah. Playoff games, sure. But a regular season game in March? No. Who has the money for that? They didn't. The NBA wasn't what it was today. It wasn't even close to what it is today. It wasn't even close to what the WNBA is today. It was not a popular league. Yes, there's film of certain games, but there's not film of every single game in the season of 1962. Why is that? Because nobody was paying for that. Because nobody was watching it. Most people didn't even have TVs. They were listening to the game on the radio. That's why we have radio coverage of the game, clear as day. But we don't have visuals because visuals weren't commonplace. Yes, there were visuals of things. But I highly doubt the NBA is going to send a camera crew out to a regular season game in March. It's not even a playoff game. They're not doing that. And it wasn't like, oh, you could say like, oh, it's a Wilt Chamberlain game, but Wilt always drop 50 plus every night. So we're not sending a camera crew every night because he gets 50 plus every night. We have footage of that. And then some people say, like it was fake. It's an agenda by the NBA. Like the NBA was trying to make itself more popular, which is possible. That can happen. But again, if it was faked, don't you think the NBA would have sent a camera crew to get the footage of him scoring 100 points? That's how I know it actually happened. And it wasn't staged like some conspiracy theorists were saying. Because the NBA would have had footage of him scoring 100 points. And they don't. I believe some footage came out of somebody that may have had a camera there recently. I want to check that out. I may react to it. But besides that little grainy, cameraman that happened to be there, there weren't cameramen there. There weren't camera crews there. Because it was a regular season game in March and they didn't have the money to do that, brother. They just didn't. Let me put this in perspective for you guys. In the 60s, the New York Knicks, the 50s and 60s, the New York Knicks used to put out ads in the paper saying that guys over 6'5" could get into games for free if they tried out for the basketball team after. As long as you were 6'5" and over. That was the NBA at that time. They were as long as you were 6'5" and up, you could try out for the team, for a pro basketball team. Let's just really think about that. So you think they had a camera crew at every single game? You're crazy. Another gripe some people have is that the game supposedly ended with 5 minutes left. Like they never finished the game. Like once Wilt scored his 100-point, the game ended. Like they just stopped it. That wouldn't happen today because of what the NBA is. Like the game would finish. But when Wilt scored his 100th point, everybody stormed the court. You could hear that in the radio version of it. Like everybody stormed the court, or a lot of people did. If Steph Curry scored 100 points today, I think people would storm the court. And that's today. It might be a little bit more difficult because of security and stuff like that. I don't think it would be as easy. But I think a lot of people would storm the court. Whether it was the fourth quarter, 5 minutes left, whatever the case may be. I do think the game was still finished because the NBA is more official now and the game has to finish. But I think people would storm the court today if Steph Curry or James Harden or anybody scored 100 points or more in a game. And because I think that would happen today, I know for sure that's what happened in 1962. Looking at it from the standpoint of the NBA, again, not being that popular at the time and kind of being like somewhat of a fly-by-night league, it makes sense that the refs were like, hey, the game's over, man. Like, imagine they were up by like 20. Wilt just scored 100 points. It's 5 minutes left in the game. It's over, bro. We're going home. It's over. We're up 20. Dude just scored 100 points. It's over. That's it. I can see that happening, and that's not crazy. At that time, where the league was, the time period, that's not crazy to happen. And I wish you guys would stop disrespecting Wilt, because you guys just seem like haters more than anything. Like, it's not even like, you guys just seem like haters. Like, I talk about old heads all the time, but this is a period where young people just sound dumb. There's no reason for them to lie about him scoring 100 points. Because they could have said that about any game. They could have staged it. They could have did a lot of different things. It sounds like some shit that happened that you can't explain. There was no camera crew there. It was a regular season game at the end of the season in March. People were gearing up for the playoffs. They didn't finish the game because Wilt's team was up 20 and he had scored 100 points, and everybody stormed the court when he got his 100th point. Wilt historically was a terrible free throw shooter, like Shaq was a terrible free throw shooter. This day, he shot like 28 or 32 from the free throw line, which was crazy. When he historically was shooting 48% from the free throw line, he shot, what is that? Was that like 80% or something like that? Maybe more. So if he goes into the game scoring 60 to 70 points and he gets another 28 to 30 points from the free throw line, that's a hundo. But I've ranted enough about this. That's how I feel. I feel like you young whippersnappers are just being disrespectful to Wilt Chamberlain and the past of the NBA. Just don't take away his accolades, man. Just because you didn't see it. Like, that's, again, 2,000 white people aren't going to co-sign a feat of a black man that didn't happen like that. They're just not. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. We could go back and forth about it. That's fine. But make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, make sure you ding that notification bell so you know every time I drop a video. And most of all, YouTube, I love you guys. Peace out.
It's the 3 on PLAXtv.